What's happening, everybody? I'm the other Steve, and welcome back to the House of Kayfabe. I am, of course, here with the heavyweight champion, trial lawyer of the century, the Appalachian Atticus Finch, a man so famous they named a river after him, Stephen P. New. Stephen P. New, did you really think that Vince McMahon was going to stay out of power?
No, not really. I always thought that if the sale, depending on who the sale of WWE was to, McMahon may or may not be in power. You know, if it was a more traditional type entity like a Disney or a Comcast, I could see McMahon being forced out. If it was a non traditional entity like the Saudis or now Endeavor, I could see McMahon staying on for his expertise, just like Dana White did, scandals notwithstanding, in UFC.
You know, I thought that when they floated the idea of the Saudis buying the WWE, I think that that was on purpose. And I think that they were taking the temperature of fans. And I think that there was a tremendous backlash online. I know in our chat group, we had people being like, I'm not going to watch WWE anymore because, you know, we try to keep politics off this channel, but we can agree that supporting the Saudi government is not what a lot of people in America would be signed on for their entertainment.
Right. I mean, and this is live sports. And, it's one thing that the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, they all try to be sensitive to the modern political climate. Even NASCAR, you got a lot of the old school NASCAR fans. NASCAR wants away from the rebel flags, and we can talk all day about that kind of stuff. But when your sports company is owned by a dictatorial monarchy in the Middle East that runs on oil and is engaged in a civil war in Yemen, a proxy war against Iran, that doesn't mix too well, with big time wrestling. So I don't think that even wrestling fans would stick around for all of the garbage that would go along with that, Steve.
Believe it or not, us wrestling fans do have a code and a little bit of ethical ideas about where we're going to spend our money. So, we now know that Endeavor, who owns the UFC, and they own what is that big agency in LA, the big they own one of the major agents, talent agencies.
The talent agencies, yeah.
Right. So this is a multi conglomerate behemoth of a corporation that has taken on WWE. Steve New, talk about what they were valued at, what they paid, and why did they overpay?
Well, WWE's market cap value is about $6.1 billion. That's what the company is worth on paper. And Endeavor paid $9.3 billion for it. 33% more than WWE is worth on paper. And by all accounts of what Ari Emanuel, CEO of Endeavor, has said, Bank of America, and all the Wall Street Journal, what everybody's saying is that together, WWE and UFC maximizing out these opportunities that they have, WWE is worth a whole lot more than even the $9.3 billion that Endeavor is paying for it. And we can talk a little bit more about exactly why that is, Steve.
So is it because the WWE is completely solvent? Like everything is in the black. They have no debt.
That's a big part of it. Bank of America and other huge banks want to loan Endeavor money, and they don't need it. Neither UFC nor WWE have any debt to speak of. And yet these banks, of course, they want to throw money at this, hugely solvent, publicly traded corporation. And they're in the black and have been in the black for ages. They have no debt to speak of, very little overhead. And so, sure, that's a big part of the reason why Endeavor knows they're not buying some 6.1 billion dollar company that's valued on paper. Oh, but by the way, they've got 3 billion in debt. This is a 6.1 billion dollar company that's very lean, very mean, and very little debt.
And that has to be an anomaly for these big corporations, I would assume.
Well, and again, it gets back to, I think both WWE and UFC were privately held corporations. Before WWE went public and raised all that capital. And I think that despite being a public, WWE has been run for the past 20 years very much like a small privately held corporation would be run, where the owners have a great stake in it. They are very close to their audience. And in terms of debt, McMahon's very smart. He has very smart financial advisors and things who are not going to let the WWE take stupid risks, take out a bunch of debt just because that you can for no good reason. I mean, there was a reason why, if you think about it, WWE had a 4-floor tower in Stamford, Connecticut. That was WWE Tower. You drive past it on I-95 and you would see it. It's only been within the last couple of years, with them making as much money as they are, that they have upgraded their digs. That really tells you all you need to know about why a company like that wouldn't have a tremendous amount of debt.
So he bought the company in 1980 from his father on credit for $1 million. 43 years later, what'd you say,
$9.3 billion.
Say what you want to about his booking lately, but this has got to be like a Michael Jordan level businessman in his instincts.
Yeah, and I equate it, everybody laughed. There was a Pro Wrestling Illustrated cover in like 84 or 85 where Vince McMahon talked about wanting to become the Walt Disney of pro wrestling. And the rest of us who were hardcore NWA fans at the time were like, screw you, McMahon, and your ice cream bars. They weren't quite a thing in 85 yet, but your ice cream bars, and your cartoonish type characters, and the actual honest to God Saturday morning cartoon, and your Walt Disney. And Steve, I'm not real. I'm a student of law and politics, not really a student of business. But if you think about it, and you can think of a few, Microsoft in the garage in Washington State, uh,
Amazon in his garage.
And then, Disney goes and buys thousands of acres of swamp in Orlando, Florida. And, the rest of us, compared to those guys who are billionaires and the richest people in the world, I mean, they just make that kind of stuff happen. They've got this vision. The guy who's building I Own right now, he started out with his father and 2 tandem coal trucks. Wow. And when he died, flying in a private copter from his private island in the Bahamas back to Florida, he was a billionaire by age 61. And, Chris Klein came from very modest means near my hometown, and he was able to time the coal markets, and he'd get in when it was down, ride the wave. It would be up. He'd sell high. He'd let the market go back down, get back in. And it was just tremendous timing. But, I admire McMahon from a business standpoint for the very reasons that you said. $1 million in on credit. He was this close to going out of business in the late 90s, thanks to billionaire Ted. And they were very close. Talk to Jim Cornette about how close their margins were in about 96 or 97. And then those guys thinking that they were going to be, they were going to go from being the WWF to being ECW. And so McMahon never wavered in his vision for that company. And Now he's rolling in cash. He looks like Snively Whiplash. Uh,
It kind of looks like
from
Walt
that's
Disney.
Yeah, he looks like an evil Walt Disney. If he had gray hair instead of dyed jet black hair, he looks like Walt Disney's evil twin is what he looks like. But those are the kind of guys, if you think about business, Microsoft in the garage, Amazon in the garage, Walt Disney buys 1,000 acres in the middle of a swamp. And you know that people had to look at Walt Disney in the 60s and go, what in the world are you thinking? And now Disney, the corporation, owns our childhoods, right? It owns Marvel and Star Wars and the Muppets and, Disney, the properties itself. And so let me talk for just a moment about why so many companies are so big on this. Traditional rights, television rights. WWE programming in the past year is up 16% in the key demo, 18 to 49. Now, one can argue whether that's the result of Triple H having the book. And I think what all wrestling fans can agree is the quality of the product. But the fact of the matter is, television ratings are in the crapper, folks. And nobody watches traditional television anymore. We're all streaming Stranger Things and Cobra Kai and Yellowstone and Better Call Saul and everything in the world. And we're not watching the traditional television shows. Raw and SmackDown up 16% in that key 18 to 49 demo. Fox itself, everybody talks about, well, what about the rights deals? Fox is licking its chops to get its hands on more WWE programming. AEW wants WWE program because of the wild success of those biography shows on Sunday night. So Endeavor sees this as an opportunity, Steve, with UFC coming up with ESPN at the end of the fiscal year 2025, WWE coming up with Fox and USA. They just see a lot of big upside, not to mention the streaming. If WWE comes off of Peacock, they've still got their network. All they've got to do is flick a switch, and they're right back on a WWE network. And Endeavor thinks that they can partner. Endeavor's seen what WWE has done with premium live events, what our old timers used to call pay-per-views. And Endeavor wants that with UFC. They want to showcase this on a premium live event that's available on a streaming system that they charge more for because you're getting both WWE and UFC. And there's just so much that Endeavor apparently is excited for, and they want to do cross promotion, talent sharing, and all kinds of other stuff that this guy Ari Emanuel seems to be real excited about. Steve, I can speak to the shareholder aspect of that in a moment if you want as well.
That's what I wanted to get into because
we're at the tip of the iceberg, and fair warning. I'm a trial lawyer. I'm a litigator. I do not do mergers and acquisitions. I've had my toe in one or two in my 25-year career, but what I know about them is there has to be a due diligence process after this. Both companies essentially have to open their books, and there is an accounting process that goes on. There is a legal process that goes on. There's an environmental process that goes on. And so all of that stuff is happening simultaneously. And so some really big law firms with really, really, really smart people that get paid a lot of money by the hour, like $2,500 an hour, to make sure that nothing is missed. There's also a governmental aspect of this. They're going to have to go to the Federal Trade Commission and some other governmental agencies to announce this merger. And, we'll see whether the Department of Justice or anybody else has anything to say about this. And I really don't foresee any problems here that would hold up the acquisition of WWE by Endeavor. I don't believe if they thought there were going to be any problems, I don't believe they would have been so public about this. I think it's taken a pretty long time where we've known that there was some kind of a potential buyer for about a year now. We just didn't know exactly whom. And now we know. So that's the next sort of part of this. Now, the part that may make your mouth water just a little bit is uh, the Endeavor stock went down just a little bit. WWE is trading at a 5-year high right now at about 95 or 98, somewhere
It was
in that
83
range.
on Friday.
It was 83 on Friday. It's now at a 5-year high. Back in October, it was down to 54. So just if you had bought 1,000 shares at $54 a share in October, your $54,000 would now be worth $98,000. And there's a chance, depending on how they structure the deal, that the WWE stock could be, it could be a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 or a 4-for-1, it's something like that. So all the WWE stockholders are licking their chops, waiting to see what the announced deal is going to be for how much their stock's going to be worth when it gets transferred to $TKO.
So that's what I wanted to really talk about and how I wanted to end this video on. You are a shareholder. Mm-hmm. I dabble. I do not have WWE stock. You said that you got out of the stock market, but you kept WWE. Did you keep WWE as a mark, or did you keep WWE because you thought something like this would happen?
Yes.
So let's talk.
I kept a little bit just because I wanted to be that guy that if some law firm ever needed like a plaintiff to sue WWE over something like a shareholder derivative suit, that they might call me up and say, "Hey, Steve New, do you want to be the shareholder that sues WWE and Vince McMahon?" And I'd be like, "Yes, all my dreams have been realized. I want to be in a case book." So yeah, part of it was that, but then also, man, it hasn't disappointed. When I went to my broker about 6-7 years ago, and I bought, I think, WWE, Facebook, and Apple. And, the Apple is understandable. The Facebook was understandable. It was trading in the double digits at the time. And then WWE, it was at like 16 or 17 a share. And he's like, "Why do you want WWE stock?" Then it went on a rocket, dude. And when it got to like 47, he was like, "You got any other little hidden nuggets there you want to share with us, Steve New? What do you know and where?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just a wrestling fan, there's nothing going on up here. I'm just a redneck from Gilbert, there's nothing special going on up here." But man, like they say, timing is everything. And I made a lot of money on that WWE stock first go around.
Well, that kind of speaks to the attitude of what, like, I always think of non-wrestling fans as like citizens. That speaks to what non-wrestling fans think of wrestling. Like that, your market guy was like, "Well, you're going to buy fake fighting? Nobody's good. Right. This is going nowhere."
And I can't remember what I put in. It was like maybe 10 or 20. And he said, "Why do you want to put 10 or 20, whatever it was, grand in a wrestling company?" I'm like, "Buddy, I know my stuff. I don't know much, but what I know, I know." And I'm like, I get a sneaky feeling that WWE is about to take off. And boy, it did. Same thing with my marketing people. The first time they came to me about my law firm advertising on television, this is about 2008, 2009, I was picking shows. And you want to be on Bill O'Reilly, and you want to be on the Weather Channel, and you want to be on this, and you want to be on that. And I said, "Put me 3 commercials, one every hour in Monday Night Raw." And my Suddenlink person was like, "Monday Night Raw?" And then she did the checking on what the highest rated shows were: Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, so They figured it out. And so now, Farmer Klein and Campbell and all kinds of other lawyers advertise on Monday Night Raw because that's where our clientele is, and it's a highly rated program.
Stephen P. New, trailblazing in the marketing scene. I want to end this video with this. And you said this yesterday because I did inquire. I was like, Steve, are you set to make some bread, some cheddar on this move? And you said if it's like a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, I know what that means. Tell the people before we get out of here what that means in sense of you own WWE. Now it's about to be gobbled up by this big conglomeration. Are you now going to own stock in Endeavor? Are you going to be bought out? Have those things been decided yet? And give us the
they
definition
haven't
of
been
both.
decided yet, so which is why if your WWE stock becomes Endeavor stock, what's its value? And they've got to level that stuff up. But it's going to be if what I think happens, then I think the WWE stockholders shareholders are going to be very, very pleased with what happens, especially the ones whose last name are McMahon. Yeah. So, but all of that is yet to be determined because the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, is part of that governmental process that has to look at what the deal is as it's going through.
Well, there you go, guys. If you all need a stock tip, go ahead and call New Taylor Law Offices.
No,
don't do that.
No, you won't get a prospectus out of me.
So there you go, Stephen P. New. Thanks for jumping on here and explaining a little bit of this. I hope you get your 4-to-1 deal down the road, sir. I'll know who I'll be asking to send me to WrestleMania next year in Philadelphia.
The House of Kayfabe is going. You heard it here first. We're going to Philly in 2024.
We will be there, and be sure to check out all of our other videos. If you like what we did, please give us a like, a comment, and share. Hell, tell the rest of your Mark friends about us because we need your help. For Stephen P. New, I am the other Steve, and thanks for watching the House of Kayfabe.